Yeah,
stay on
and
here.
then
No, it says we're live.
I'll put
It
something
says
in the
live on
chat
YouTube.
that
Yeah,
says,
we're live right now.
don't stay on this one. Close this page out or something.
Right. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I'm your host, Robert Michaels. Glad that you're here. I am having some technical difficulties with Zoom again. We thought we fixed it. We worked on this with a Zoom associate who walked me through all the things that I needed to do, and it's still not working. So we're going to try this again. I'm going to share this with the group here. If you guys will send this out, please. There, that just went to everyone in the private chat. Apologies for that, and then also for last week we didn't have a show last week. I was expecting that I was going to at least have a little bit of cell service at the SIV, and we did not have any cell service. So I couldn't even create the show. I thought at least I would be able to, put a message on the website and say, we're not going to have a show because I'm doing an SIV. But nevertheless, we're here to tell the tale. So I'm going to try to just get this rolling. Did you, Craig, did you see the link I just put in our private chat here?
I don't have nothing. No, Sean's saying no as well.
Oh, that's in the waiting room.
Something just come up. Hold on here, I got
I'm
it.
sorry. No, it went to what's called the waiting room. Here we go.
Breaking the internet one step at a time.
There we go.
Yeah, Zoom's not hitting very hot licks with me right now, and I am gonna have to send them another message.
I just put in the chat to go back to your link. It'll probably refresh, right? Or click on the link that's coming in. I think, Craig, you're going to put that in the chat. Is that correct?
Yeah.
What's the sad part is that this doesn't monetize the on YouTube. So it's kind of a bummer.
I'm figuring this out. Look at me go. I had two different chats up at one time. Whoa.
Crazy Uncle Bob.
And I got everybody's name in there still too. Aha!
Good thing somebody's doing something right around here, because I sure ain't. Well, we have a special guest tonight, guys, and I'm pretty excited about it. Mark Tatham is with us. Mark is a fixed wing pilot. He's a free flight pilot, and also he is now a paramotor pilot. And he's got all kinds of great stories and tales. I was going to pull up his list. He actually sent me a resume for the show, and it is an incredible resume. He's way overqualified to be on this show. He's got some great adventures. We're going to talk a little bit about those and some of his recent endeavors. We actually did a trip together, and we went into the Red Rocks Fly-In in Utah. And that was a great time. And so we'll talk a little bit about that and that adventure. Also, you're joined by KC80RW on ham radio. It's Nick. He's with us. Also, Anthony Peregringo. He's in a bunker in somewhere here in Southern California, close to the fence. Also, Craig Taylor. He's monitoring things right next to the White House. He's making sure that everything is good on our East Coast. And Sean Nafskers, he's got the middle. He's taking care of the middle ground of our country. And so we are well protected on this show. I'm pretty glad that you're here. If you're logging in and you're a part of the chat, make sure that you say hi at least once. Sean will put your name in the spinning wheel, and the spinning wheel's got all kinds of good stuff for you. We're going to give away some PPG smoke t-shirts, probably more than one tonight. Pretty excited about that. I'm just kind of clicking along here. If you notice I'm not paying attention, it's because I'm trying to adjust our live stream. Again, I apologize for the nonsense. Not sure why it doesn't want to work. Really weird. Let's try this one more time. Nope, doesn't want to work. And boom goes a dynamite. Let's see what that looks like. Oh, that's funny. The thumbnail is Nick. That's funny. All right. Well, if anybody else logs in, they'll find They'll find that bad boy there. So glad that you're here. First, Mark, I want to just ask you, and we'll talk about sponsorship in just a second. I know everybody's probably waiting to hear the commercials, but we're going to skip that for just a second. Mark, you've got some amazing adventures. At one point, you flew was it a Cessna? You flew this little tiny plane way farther than you're supposed to fly those planes. I think you even mentioned that you had some extra gas containers, and you've just got a wealth of aviation knowledge. You've got some great stories. We shared some of those stories when we were on the trip in Red Rocks. Take us through how you got into free flight paragliding and then how you morphed into paramotoring.
Well, it all started really with flying. I always wanted to fly, and so back in about 2001, I went and got my worked towards my my private pilot's license. So I flew private pilot fixed wing for a while, and then I thought, boy, wouldn't it be cool to get my seaplane rating? So I went down to Jack Brown's seaplane base in Florida, and went and did a course there and got my seaplane rating as well. And then I was in South Africa visiting my family over there, and I saw they were doing paragliding then. So I went and I signed up for a tandem flight, and I tried it, and I thought, oh, this is really cool. So then when I got back to the States, I went off and signed into a training course. But, you know, free flight is very fickle. At least on the interior, you kind of dependent on the winds and things. And and especially in the Northwest, you know, it rains. Basically, summer is the 12 weekends that start on July 4th, and then towards the end of September, bam, you're out of weather. And so I didn't have good weather for my training course, and I didn't get into it. And then a couple of years later, I was walking across Switzerland with my son. And we just started on the east side, and we were walking through to the west side, and there were lots of paragliders all flying all over the mountains, and I was just blown away by that. And I thought, I have to do this. So I held it out there as an adventure I really wanted to go down. And then I took a year off work just to sort of experience living life for a while, and I set myself a reward. So I said, if I go back to work again after my break, then I can get my paraglider's license and buy paragliders. That was my motivation to get back to work, because otherwise I would have never gone back to work. And so when I got a job, I went off in Salt Lake City and at Point of the Mountain, and I went and trained over there and got into free flight. And it's just been awesome. I've loved it. It's just been a ton of fun.
Who was your instructor over there?
I went with Utah Paragliding, Jonathan Jeffries and Hal Franklin. Hal's a real character. He's you'll see him in the middle of winter, and he'll be on his we call them flip-flops. I don't know what you call them here. Thongs, I suppose, would be. But it's like a kind of a sandal thing that just comes between your toes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he'll be out there just walking around in the snow with his flip-flops on, you know. That's his style. Just a crazy guy, but super respectful, ultra chill. You know, you might want to think about getting out of your harness now. Yeah, this is a good time. This would be a good time to get out of your harness. Okay, next time you maybe want to just get out of your harness a little bit earlier. Yeah. But, you know, never any abuse or anything like that. It was just great. Just a great school.
And so you had some background with general aviation. Talk a little bit about what you transferred over, and what can you give to the people that are watching the show to make them safer pilots?
Oof. Okay, the things that transfer over, I suppose there's sort of general life lessons transfer over. You know, the idea of not panicking. If you're flying an aircraft, panic is not what you should be doing. That's like the last thing to do, and you learn that in fixed wing, and that comes over into regular paragliding as well. You just don't want to panic. You want to keep your stuff together so that you can survive things. And events are much more survivable if you stay calm about them. So that I think started in general aviation and carried over. And then the other is be calm all the time. Don't get too wound up about things. Other things in the technical skills area, it would be things like reading weather. The weather works both for paraglider and paramotor and fixed wing, so that all transfers over well as well. How does it make you a safer pilot? Yeah, I think if you're chill, you're a safer pilot. One of my trips to South Africa, my brother, we've got time for a quick story. So my brother worked at BP, British Petroleum. He was an executive with those guys. And he went to an executive retreat. And so one of the executives there said, hey, listen, I've just bought this new fixed wing plane. It's got like 20 hours on it. Who wants to come for a ride with me? My brother liked planes, like I like planes. And so he said, yeah, sure, I'll come for a ride with you. So they jumped in the plane, they took off, and they're flying over these mountains. We've got these Drakensberg Mountains, which means, dragon mountains, I suppose, but very prickly, spiky mountains. And so he's flying over these mountains and just enjoying the view. And then they start smelling smoke, and then they start seeing smoke, and then all they can see is smoke, and the whole cabin's just filled with smoke. Luckily, he was a pretty good pilot, and he slammed the thing down into a little piece of semi-flat that he saw. And he slammed it down so hard that the gear collapsed, and then he dropped one of the wings so that it sort of sunk into the ground, and then it started spinning them so that they didn't fly off the other side of the ridge. And then they stopped and they jumped out of the plane, and full power up it went in flames. So my brother was a little bit traumatized by this. And so a couple of years later, when I got my pilot's license, I was going over there, and he said, hey, listen, I want to do an adventure with you. But I'm a bit worried because I've had this experience. I had to spend a lot of money on therapists and things to get over this near-death experience, and it bothers me. I said, George, listen, it's not a problem. I don't know anybody who's crashed, let alone twice. So statistically, it's just not going to happen. So don't worry about it. We'll just go and we'll do a flying adventure. We'll have a good time. So he said, okay, but I am worried. I said, well, don't worry. Let's just do it. So we grabbed our sons and we jumped in a plane and we flew up to Namibia, and we did this 3-day kayaking adventure down the river. And then when we were finished, we jumped back in the plane and we were flying back down to Cape Town. At the time, I had to, because I don't have a South Africa pilot's license, I've only got a US one. I had to ask I had to get a pilot, a South African pilot, to come with me to keep the insurance happy. And so he had like 5,000 hours of flying. I had 100 hours of flying. So he was definitely the guru in the cockpit. So we're flying back down to Cape Town, and we're getting a little bit low, and we've got one of these switches where you switch left, right, and you just digest the fuel going down. We're getting pretty low on fuel. So I told the guy, hey, listen, I'm flying the plane and I'm happy doing that. But as soon as this thing quits, the engine quits, I'm going to say you have the plane. And at that point, you're flying and I'm just a passenger. So he said, okay, but we'll be fine. We're going to make it, no problem. And a few minutes after that, then the engine quits. So I swap it over to the other tank, and the engine starts back up again. I say, you have the plane. So he said, yeah, okay, well, we've got enough fuel left. We'll probably make it. I said, well, between here and where we're going in Cape Town, it's just highly built up area. We're going to be killing people if we have problems there. So we should probably do a precautionary landing. So he's, yeah, okay. So we start preparing for a precautionary landing, and then we lose the engine again. And so he shakes the wings and left and right, and there's just no fuel to be had.
What did you call it? What kind of landing?
Precautionary landing.
Oh, precautionary. So, I thought you said bush landing.
No.
Okay.
It turned into a bush landing, but it's a precautionary landing.
Okay.
And the idea is you save the plane, right? So this isn't going to be in aviation, you've got a good landing, and then you've got a great landing. A good landing, you walk away, and a great landing, you can actually reuse the plane.
Yeah.
So so we were just trying to see how we could save the plane. And so when the engine quit the second time, we were looking around for places to land. There was a big highway underneath us, but it was a 2-directional highway. So we couldn't land on that because we would have hit into oncoming traffic. There was nowhere else to land. So we looked for another place in the distance. And as we were heading towards it, this other pilot was flying, and he was just like hyperventilating hugely in my headphones. But he managed to sort of keep it together. And he stayed not panicked, and he put down the gear and the flaps, and then the trees, the little shrub things that just kind of grabbed the wheels and plucked them off the plane, and then the plane just kind of smacked down on its belly, and then the prop dug in, and then the plane flipped over and the wing snapped off, and we were all okay because there was no fuel in the plane, so there was nothing to catch fire, so it was just a little inconvenience. So
Wow.
Since this instructor had come along just for the insurance, we then dusted ourselves off and said, hey, listen, thanks for the ride and good luck getting this all sorted out. And we walked out of the desert and into the nearest road. And our wives, we called our wives and said, hey, can you come pick us up?
Oh my God.
That's the nice thing about chartering a plane, is that you can walk away at the end of the day and you don't have to deal with all the other stuff. But yeah, that was quite an adventure. But it was interesting there to see the difference between, if you stay calm and if you panic, it just doesn't end well.
So did you, I mean, that plane was obviously completely wasted.
Yeah.
Nothing
it was
salvageable.
toast. Yeah, well, I guess the engine, they had to tear it down because it had a prop strike. And the body parts you could probably reuse for spares, but it was that was a good landing, but not a great landing because you couldn't reuse that plane.
Yeah, but you walked away.
Yeah.
And you landed somewhere where there was cell service.
It was an adventure. Yeah.
Somebody landed just this 2 days ago on the 5 freeway, I believe.
Did they?
Up by San Onofre.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on there, but they held up traffic a little bit.
Yeah, and I think if you can interweave yourself with traffic on a 2-lane highway, then that's fine, because you fly over and then they see, hey, shit, there's this plane flying over me, and then you just flare and then drop in between the traffic and they'll pull back. So that's good. But if you've got 2-way traffic, then it's going to end badly. So yeah, but quite an adventure though.
Yeah.
My son and my brother's son were both in the very back of the plane, and for them it was like a roller coaster ride. So they were kind of psyched, when it happened. They weren't traumatized at all.
Something different, and they were excited.
Yeah,
that's great.
My brother said I should go and get some therapy and cry a little, but I haven't done that yet. I was like, hey, what's there to cry about? I walked away from this thing and I wasn't even bleeding.
Yeah, and it wasn't your plane.
And it wasn't my plane, the best part of it all. Yeah. The one mistake I did make, the plane had shoulder straps and it had lap straps. And I made the mistake of undoing the lap strap first. So as I undid the lap strap, because we were upside down, right?
Oh,
when we finished crashing. So we're upside down, I undid the lap strap and I just fell straight down onto the shoulder strap, and it just gave me this line of hickeys down my neck like that. And everyone was saying, oh, your wife really likes you, doesn't she?
Yeah.
It was a crazy adventure, but nice that I could walk away from it. And I walked away, had a shower, and then went to the airport and jumped on a plane to fly back to Atlanta.
So that's not the first time you've crashed in an airplane.
No, I did. I crashed again. It was a couple of months later, actually. I was adding up all my costs of flying, of how much I'd spent on all my training, and it turned into quite a lot of money. I thought, gosh, that much money, I could probably buy a plane on eBay or something. So I looked on eBay, and sure enough, I found a plane for like $15,000. I said, that looks pretty good. I'll put a bid on it, but I'm sure somebody will outbid me. Well, nobody did outbid me. So I was now a proud owner of a plane in Oklahoma, and I was living in Seattle. So I thought, that wasn't really thinking too clearly, but I managed to find a fellow that dragged it up to Seattle on a trailer, and I found an instructor to give me some flight instruction, and I got to fly it for quite a bit. I flew all around Seattle, and I flew for about 40 hours. Finally earned my trust, and I thought, okay, this is a pretty good plane. I'm quite happy with it. So I grabbed my son and we flew out to the San Juan Islands, which are just off the coast of Seattle there. And we went to go do a day just adventure kayaking around the islands and looking at the whales and stuff like that. And so on our way back, we took off, and I was up at about 1,500 feet over the water, and poof, the engine just quit. It was a Rotax 582, and the engine just quit. And when I bought the plane, I thought nobody crashes planes. I don't need to insure this thing, so I didn't have it insured. So then when the engine quit, I thought, this isn't good. So I went through my ABCD. You have A is for airspeed, so you just kind of get it so that it's the best airspeed for flight, and then B is best field, figure out where you're going to land. My options were land in some 300-foot trees or some water, and so I chose the water. So we got those decisions out of the way. And then C was cockpit checks. Go through and check and see if your ignition is switched off, or you bumped the throttle, or your primer's locked, or something like that. So went through, did all of that. Engine just wasn't starting. And then declare an emergency and prepare to evacuate for the last two ones. And so I ended up I couldn't get the engine started again. So I flared it and crashed into the water about 200 feet off the coast. And the water's like 52 degrees. And as we crashed in, we were going at about 65 miles an hour. So the main gear sort of grabbed first, and it pulled the plane down, and we just sort of plummeted down. And then the water pressure just sort of collapsed in the window, so the cabin flooded with water. But it was 52-degree water, so really, really cold. And I thought, oh gosh, that's I can't handle this. I lost all my air, and so by the time the cabin had flooded with water, I was like, I've got to get some air pretty badly. So I had my son in there, and I was figuring, well, he's 13 years old, and he's got a funky kind of seatbelt on him. He's probably just yanking on the seatbelt trying to get loose, but I needed to breathe. So I shot up to the surface to try and grab a breath of fresh air, and then go down and help get my son out of the plane. But when I was up there, I just yelled, "Hey, Matt, are you up here?" And sure enough, he was up there. I thought, okay, fine, they can take the plane now. And you met Matt at the Red Rocks.
Yeah.
He came out and hung out with us for a bit.
Such a cool guy. Yeah.
So, and he still flies with me, but he's got a little bit of reservation. He's not quite an enthusiastic participant. Yeah. But yeah. So anyway, great. I guess the moral on that story is, don't buy a plane on eBay.
Yeah. Final answer.
Yeah.
So if you're just logging in, we're talking to Mark Tatham, and just a little background. He's got experience flying helicopters, all types of different fixed wings aircrafts. He 25 different fixed wing planes, sailplanes, hang gliders, paragliders, paramotors, and he's done some skydiving. He's visited over 50 countries. He has flown paragliders in quite a few countries. I don't want to name them all, but tons. He walked across Switzerland. He walked across France and Spain. That's a equivalent of about 30 marathons that he's done. 3 Ironman triathlons. He's in his description, he said that he's crashed 2 planes, shot himself twice, crashed 2 horses, crashed a motorcycle in Mexico, flew a Cessna from Florida to Egypt across the Atlantic, and he slept on ice that was 5,000 feet thick. He also flew a Cessna to all the airports in the Bahamas from Florida, and he sent me a bunch of pictures, and it's pretty cool. That is the adventure of adventures, and you're still not done. So you picked up recently paramotoring, and before we go into this next story, he had a pretty violent accident, and it was there was a series of events that happened. We're going to break that down. I do want to say that the show is sponsored by PPG Smoke. If you haven't checked out PPG Smoke's website, it's ppgsmoke.com. Ryan Roberts has all kinds of great stuff. We're actually going to do a giveaway. We're going to give away a couple shirts that he has now. He has store in his store. He has some shirts. So go check those out if you want to just pick one up. They're actually really cool. Also, he has some different stuff for your paramotoring. If you don't know it, go check out the website. He's got all kinds of stuff. But if you do know about it, there's some pretty good deals going on. If you log in, check out those the details of what is on sale right now. There's some pretty good deals. Also, the show is brought to you by paramotorprops.com. If you want to find some props, maybe you blew up a prop and you're looking for a really good deal and you want to get it quick, paramotorprops.com is the website. They have incredible deals. Show's also brought to you by paraorangeproducts.com. And if you're interested in getting some gear to protect your gear, or you're wanting to buy even wings, I think he's even selling motors. So go check out his website. That's paraorangeproducts.com or paraorange.com. Either website will get you to where you need to get. And if you have questions, you can ask any one of the moderators. We'll connect you with Larry or Chris, who runs that website. The show is also brought to you by Nebraska PPG. Josh Bowden, he has a school there in Nebraska. And if you're interested in getting some top-notch training, you can go train with him. And he's an awesome guy. You'll really like him. And he's incredibly focused. His teaching style is super chill. And I actually flew on radio with him one time on a paramotor, and it was super cool. So check the links in the description. Hey, thanks, Craig Taylor. There's all kinds of good stuff. Go check out those and say hi to these guys that are sponsors of the show. If you would like to sponsor the show, maybe you're considering, maybe you watch the show every week and every week you're hopeful that you're going to win something, or you're interested in trying to take away something that'll make you a safer pilot. Invest in this show. If you want to do that, you can go to Patreon or PayPal, and there is a link in the description to do that. And support the show for just $1 or $2 or the price of a cup of coffee. You might learn something that can save your life or save somebody else's life. And I really appreciate everybody that's been a sponsor for a long time. Your contribution actually sent me through an SIV course. So thank you for that. And I really appreciate all that everybody does for the show, and especially moderation. So let's shift gears a little bit. We want to talk about an incident. This happened because of a ground start. So he took a gash in his shoulder from a wing, from a prop. So the prop, so you could say prop strike, but it hit him and cut him open pretty bad. This is recently. They're getting ready to go on a flight here locally, and mistakes were made and lessons were learned. And so I want to try to translate those things that you learned and your takeaways, so that we don't have other people chopping their arms in half. And we're not going to share any pictures, so don't worry about that. But I did see the pictures, and it is brutal. And this is a tough cookie that we're dealing with. For whatever reason, it seems like all South Africans are really tough.
Yeah. Well, we when we graduate from high school, we have a choice. You can either go to jail for 3 years, or you could go to the army for 2 years. Yeah. And when you enter the armies, it wasn't like you could just say, "Hey, listen, I've had enough. You're treating me badly." You pretty much had to stay there. So inevitably, most South Africans that are my age group tended to get a little tough love, I guess you could call it that. Yeah. When they graduated from high school. So,
by the way, one of the guys that watches the show has OCD, and he wants you to turn your camera sideways like this, so we get a full image. Here we go. And that was for JP. So
only took 31 minutes.
Well, no, you know what?
Just kidding.
I was going to say it looked like it froze up, but he's good now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I can do this. This works too. Okay. Well, it's,
I was just hoping you would torment them the whole time.
Yeah. I let it
Yeah.
go long enough. I saw that in the chat like 20 minutes ago.
And
Well, you know, if
JP's
we didn't have
JP's using
OCD people, we
suspenders.
wouldn't have had Steve Jobs and we wouldn't have Apple computers. So,
That's right.
you know, OCD's good.
Yeah.
Rave on. Yeah. Yeah.
Grant Robinson said we're a tough bunch. He must be a South African as well.
Yeah, he is. No one of those.
All right. So yeah, take us through the accident and what'd you learn and what do you have to offer for the people that are watching so that this mistake doesn't happen?
Yeah. I guess the thing to say sort of upfront is that it's very easy to be judgmental about it and say, you know, I'm righteous and you did a ground start and you got spanked and you deserved it. Tally ho. Don't ever ground start. That's just not what we do. And if you do that, you're bloody well asking for it. That's an easy thing to say, but I don't believe that it's quite that simple. You know, my incident was a result of a chain of events, and if I had broken any one of those links, this thing wouldn't have happened. But these events all kind of linked together, and at the end of the day, I didn't recognize that it was a chain of events, and it ended up biting me. So I guess the skill that I need to work on a little bit is learning to identify things that are going pear-shaped and stop it before it becomes a real problem. You know, so often an engine will give you a little bit of a heads up that it's gonna die or whatever, and you need to just be on the lookout for linkages that are leading to an accident. So for my specific situation, I'd flown the whole day. I'd been flying from Elsinore to Saboba, so I'd just flown for like 3.5 hours on my paraglider, and I got home and I was tired. So that's like strike one. Then I decided, because I was greedy, I would go and fly with the ugly raptors out of Little Black, and so I went shooting across there to go flying, but I was running a bit late, so I had the time pressure there, so I was kind of feeling that. So I was rushing a bit, so that's strike two. Then we have a regulation, well, a guidance that this is a noise-sensitive site. And so we don't start on the rack at this site because some people may become offended. There are not any houses in the area, so I don't know that I fully agree with that policy. I think that safety comes first above hurting some little delicate flowers concerns. So I think that starting on the rack is the right thing to do all the time. In retrospect, obviously, I've got some learning lessons that taught me that. But so the next thing was, because we've got this guidance that we want to avoid hurting people with delicate constitutions, we don't rack start. So that was strike three. So then I grabbed my paramotor, I took it out onto the field, and Anthony and Matt were they launched and they headed up into the air. And I didn't want to keep them waiting, so I was kind of feeling the urge to rush a bit more and get ready. So I was rushing and trying to get everything. I got my wing laid out and everything ready to go. And then right about then, one of the other guys that was flying with us, he had an electric start, and he ground started his electric start because, you know, it's just press a button, right? And so his engine was sitting there sort of idling happily, and I guess that sort of gave me another comfort feeling, like, hey, it's okay to ground start, it's really not so bad. And so then I thought, okay, well, I need to get this thing started. So I braced my rig pretty firmly, and I started yanking on it. I've been having trouble with I fly with a Mosta 185, and I've been having trouble getting the priming level right, and so I feel like maybe I over primed it or something, but I yanked about 10 times before that thing would even think of starting up. So I was starting to get worn out, just yanking on the pull starter. And then about 3 weeks ago, when I flew before, I had the motor on my back, and we were again battling to start it. And one of the guys that was helping me start it, he said, "Hey, just give this thing a little bit of throttle." And so I cracked open the throttle just a little bit, and he pulled the starter for me, and it fired right up. So I thought, okay, well, that the conclusion there is that, hey, if you give the thing a little bit of throttle, it'll start easier. So I thought, okay, well, I'm yanking away here and it's not starting. I'll give it a little bit of throttle. I gave it a little bit of throttle, and sure enough, it just fired right up. But as it fired up, it pushed into me, and I guess that gave it a bit more throttle. So as it took more throttle, I flipped the throttle over and I hit the kill switch. But by that time, the engine had pushed itself, my shoulder against the neck, and the prop had come through and slapped up my shoulder. So I'd lost about 12 inches by 6 inches of skin off my upper arm. So it wasn't really just, hey, I ground started and bam, it happened. It was a set of things that linked in, and I ended up with a sore arm. But at the end of the day, I got some stitches, and it's healing okay. I just wish that the doctor that I'd used to take the staples out had put steri strips on to hold the wound closed.
Butterflies, right?
Yeah, butterflies, because I would have been healed by now. I mean, already the bottom part of the wound, this thing happened almost not even 4 weeks ago, and already the bottom part of the wound where it's stuck together, it's healed closed already. So this thing would be history almost at this point. I'd be back to flying again. But because the doctor didn't use those butterfly strips, the wound popped open again, and so now I'm growing skin from scratch in that spot. So it's taking a little bit longer, but hoping to be up in the air in another month or so.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. 2 weeks would be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll be fine in 2 weeks.
Yeah. But yeah, and am I going to ground start again? No, I'm not. Do people ground start successfully? Yes, they do. And did my instructor tell me to ground start? Yes, he did. He taught me, but he taught me the proper way and not to crack open the throttle. That was my own little improvising, and it certainly taught me a lesson. But I won't be doing that anymore. I'm just kind of not playing that game no more.
Yeah, it's a gamble for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that we do is leisure. This is all just for fun.
Yeah.
And when it gets serious, that's when it's not fun and defeats the purpose of what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I have to disagree with you on something. You made the statement that you were greedy because you wanted to fly the free flight, and then you flew the paramotor. And I don't think that's greedy. I think that's just having fun. And you can't get enough. So there's only 24 hours in a day. You can't get enough flying.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it.
There's a reason why we have strobes.
Yeah.
It's because we want to fly to the very last minute.
Yeah. True story for sure.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your transition from free flight to paramotoring and some of your takeaways. So you haven't really been flying paramotors that long, but I know that there's some things that you've transferred over, and maybe you've been able to show up on the paramotor scene and say, oh, I've already got this or that down, so I'm already ahead of the game. Talk about that. A lot of people want to transition from paramotoring to free flight, but very rarely do you have free flight guys transitioning to paramotoring.
Yeah, that's a good question. When I got into paragliding, I really thought I'd be going into paramotoring quite fast because I saw some YouTube videos and it looked like a lot of fun. And I thought I'd be headed that way. But paragliding is just so awesome. I just loved it. And I had such a good time that it kind of took away the urgency to go to paramotoring. But then I guess last year, about November, JC from down at Torrey Pines did a course where he took people that were P2 or higher and introduced them to paramotoring. And so I did that course, and I thought, okay. I'm still waiting for the Open PPG SP140. I think that was, I thought that electric sounded like the way to go, and I wanted to do that. And so I kind of held off. And then I went to that Salton Sea fly-in, and I saw you over there, and all those other guys just having such a great time, and the camaraderie and the esprit de corps, you know, of all the paramotors. They were just just a whole bunch of guys just blatantly having fun, the time of their lives. I thought, oh, this really looks like such a lot of fun. I'm going to get a paramotor. So I reached out to my instructor, and he said, hey, I've got a paramotor here for you. So I picked it up and took it out to the Arizona Flying Circus, and then started up with that after my training. So it's been a lot of fun. Definitely the kiting that I bring from my paragliding helps with paramotoring. You know, I don't feel like I have a lot of difficulty with the kiting of the wing, because a lot of my responses are kind of automatic, you know. So if the wing is off to the one side, my body automatically, you know, runs off to that side. I don't really have to consciously think about it. So I've been paragliding for about 5 years now. And so a lot of my responses are to somewhat intuitive, you know. So the instinct reactions. So,
yeah.
And I feel that kind of helps me a little bit.
Great question from Jim CR120. He said, this is for Mark. He said, what are the best things of each type of flying that you do? If you had to be confined to just one of the three, which would it be? So we're talking fixed wing, paramotoring, and free flight.
Gosh. Yeah. Different people fly for different reasons. I had a friend who flew flew fixed wing, and his thing was precision, and it was all about control. He wanted to be flying at 3,000. For me, it's the perspective. I really enjoy looking at the world from the sky like a bird does, and we get to see the earth in ways that nobody else can. And that's what I've always loved about all three versions of aviation. Of my kind of fixed wing versus paragliding and paramotoring. And paramotoring, you're a lot of the time you're down on the ground pretty low. If you were on a paraglider, you'd be thinking to land right about now. And whereas on a paramotor, you can experience the world at a very low and very exciting, interesting level. Paragliding, it's you're looking thermals, and it's you're a lot more bird-like, and it's the quietness and the serenity of it is great. And then fixed wing is just convenience, and you can fly pretty much any time of day or night. And flying at night in a fixed wing plane is really nice and a good evening. Yeah. So which one do I like the most? If I had to just pick one, I think I'd say it's paragliding.
Free flight
paragliding. Free flight paragliding, yeah. If you had to, doing a long cross country and then landing out in the field somewhere and hiking into town and grabbing a beer, and it's just like, heck yeah, that is life well lived.
I did that flight from Lake Elsinore to Saboba just I think a day before you did it.
Yeah,
it was incredible. First time that I've made a big cross country like that. It was so fun.
Yeah, it is really nice. I went over to France last July about this time, and I got to fly with the Red Bull X-Alps guys. I flew with Patrick von Konkel or whatever, and I flew with that other guy who flew the plane down to South America. I forget his name, Austrian fella. Yeah, I flew with Paul Guschelbauer, and then one other guy, the Belgian fella. What was his name? Something fun something. But anyway, I flew with these three Red Bull contestants in the same area, and it was spectacular. And every day was like, this was my best flight ever. And you'd take off and land and fly, like I think the longest I flew was probably 4.5 hours, and the shortest I flew was probably about maybe 30 minutes to a little town. But every time you take off and you land somewhere that you've never been before, and you hitch a ride into town, and somebody drops you off at a pub, and you order a beer and you sit there and just enjoy it. And I think that that's just awesome experience. Love that.
Almost forgot. Let's spin the wheel and give something away.
Yeah.
You
We
know
gotta-
what? That's an excellent idea because
Yeah, we
I'm
gotta
getting burnt out. I got so many names in
I
this
know there's-
stinking wheel.
They keep coming too. Look at
I
these.
know. And now that they know that it's getting ready to spin, they're like, "Oh, all right, type something really quick." Okay, the cutoff's right now. It's cut off. All cut off. There we go. All right, whoever's name's in there is in there. That's all there is. Y'all can see my screen,
The
right?
Wheel of names.
All right.
Yep,
So
we
while
can
I'm
see it.
spinning this, Robert, tell us who this is brought to us by.
Oh, good spin. Good spin. I like the grunt. That was a good spin. This show is brought to you by Lone Star Paramotoring. If you know the Lone Star state of Texas and you're in that area and you want to get some training, you can reach out to Ron Turan and his team. You will get world-class training. The website is lonestarparamotor.com. This show is also brought to you by iFly Indiana Powered Paragliding. If you are interested in flying paramotors, no better place to get the proper training than iflyindiana.com. Kevin and his team will get your feet off the ground. That's iflyindiana.com. You're getting a PPG Smoke t-shirt, by the way. Whoever wins this. Oh, JR Paramotor. No? Brian? Still going. Jerry Collins?
Grease that wheel.
Oh, it's not done yet.
Cool.
Are we going to Rick What's all Gary
Collins.
Gary Collins.
Jerry.
Jerry with a G.
Congratulations, Gary Collins or Jerry Collins. In case if I'm butchering it,
A PPG Smoke t-shirt. Congratulations, winner chicken dinner. Please reach out to me. Use the website paraglidingtalk.com and then go to contact, and I just need to know your shirt size and your address, and then we will send you over your t-shirt. And those t-shirts are really comfy, extremely comfy. I actually took one and it's really nice.
that whole time I was screen sharing, I couldn't hear a word you said.
Oh,
I couldn't hear anything.
I just talked about two sponsors.
Yeah.
Lone
Awesome.
Star
Did
and,
it work out good?
It was perfect timing for two sponsors. Yeah, worked out really good.
Awesome.
Yep. If I could just get Zoom to work in the beginning, this thing would be really well-oiled machine. But whenever I can't get the video going in the beginning, man, this just goes off the tracks. Congratulations, Jerry Collins.
So there's a new person there. My dog is choking. That's a new one.
My dog is choking.
Yeah.
That is an interesting name. I like it. I like to use the moniker Captain Obvious, because your comments are always just much better when you're Captain Obvious. Yeah.
Gary says thanks, by the way. I don't know if it's Gary or Jerry, but
I'm thinking Jerry.
that's what I'm thinking.
Tough one.
Yeah, it is.
It's a tough one. So, Mark, I want to talk about your next adventures. I know you've got something coming down the pike. Tell us what your plans are and how can we be involved?
Well, I had a couple of adventures that I've had to sort of push back a little bit because of my arm issues. Like last weekend, I was supposed to, I got to grow some skin first. That's that's good. Sort of a prerequisite to adventures is you got to have some skin wrapped around your body.
How long was it, by the way?
It was about 12 inches. So about the same size as your foot.
And it just
about 6 inches wide.
Oh.
Yeah, it just, you see, had I been using a paragliding props.com prop, maybe I wouldn't have had this problem, but I was using a Helix and that thing just whacked me.
Some people want to know, did you break the prop?
Did it break the prop?
It didn't break the prop. It just put a little bit of blood on it.
That's how tough he is. That's how tough he is.
You would have thought that it would have just shattered, but it didn't.
Those Helix are pretty solid too.
Yeah, it is. It's really it's a thick, solid prop, but it's good. I'll be able to reuse that prop, so that's definitely an advantage. So I was going to go down to the Baja with the Ugly Raptors and brave the border and head on down. But that got cancelled because I'm growing skin on my arms.
Tell
And
me
then
about this picture right here. Is this is one of your airplanes? Is that a crashed airplane into the water?
yeah, that's my eBay plane. I crashed it into the water, and once we got out of the plane, then a boater that was going by came by and said, "Hey, can I help you guys?" And we said, "Yeah, get us the hell out of this water. We don't want any part of it." So they pulled us out of the water. And they said, "Well, what are you going to do with that plane?" I said, "Well, maybe we should just haul it to the shore, and then I'll come back and fetch it with a barge or something like that." And so that's what we did. We hauled it to the shore, and then we hooked a come along onto it and winched the wreckage up onto the shore. And then I went back the following weekend and fetched it with a barge. But as you can see, the wing spar was broken, and
yeah,
the prop was broken, the landing gear was broken. It was a mess. And that salt water is just nasty stuff.
not salvageable.
Not salvageable. No, it was a good landing, but not an excellent landing.
Did you call that your eBay plane?
That was my eBay plane, yeah.
What?
Oh, that F-16 is George Bush. Normally, when he comes to town, he would call me up and say, "Hey, Mark, do you want to grab a beer or something?" But one time he was really busy. The war in Iraq was driving him crazy, and he didn't have time to call me up and let me know he was in town. So I took a friend from work flying at lunchtime, and I didn't know he was in town. And so we're flying along, and this F-16 comes just right across my nose, like a football field away in front of my face there. I thought, whoa, that's cool. That doesn't happen every day. And so then I turn around and I start flying back up to the airport, and then this F-16 comes around and he pulls up next to me, and an F-16 doesn't fly at 100 knots too well. And so he kind of pulled up next to me, and then he dropped his landing gear there. You can see his landing gear's down, saying, "Hey,
Yeah.
you need to go land." So I whipped out my camera and took a picture. It wasn't a very good one. And I wish that I'd got on the radio and said, "Hey, F-16 off my wingtip, please state your intentions." But I didn't. I called the tower and I said, "Hey, tower, there's this F-16 that's harassing me. What should I do about it?" And they said, "Oh, if you're being harassed by an F-16, come back to the airport and I'll get them off your tail." And that's what they did. But that was the story behind that little guy. Yeah,
Oh my
but
gosh.
yeah, I just wish George had called me, and we could have had a beer. That was a trip to Athens. I went and ran the Athens Marathon.
That's pretty cool.
Seemed like a good idea. And
Is
that
that
is
Mingus?
That's Mingus. Definitely, it's a must do. I loved my flying in Mingus. Did a great cross country and landed in somebody's backyard, and they had a beer at their place, and it was just really nice.
Is this like 5,000 feet launch? 555? Pretty high.
It is pretty high. I think we've got like 3,000, maybe 4,000 AGL, 3,000 AGL, I suppose, maybe 4. We were way up there, and it was good. So that's the plane I flew to Egypt.
That's a big one.
It's a Cessna I flew with my friend Stuart, and we flew it from Florida all the way to Egypt across the Atlantic.
That's a big
one. It was
one.
pretty cool. Yeah, we picked up a whole bunch of ice at one point, and so it stopped flying because we were talking too much. And as sometimes happens when you talk too much, the plane stops flying. It was building up with ice, and then the ice stopped the wane. The autopilot just kept adjusting our angle of attack until it got too steep, and the plane stall warning indicator came on and said, "No, you're going to stall soon." So we looked out the window and said, "Oh, damn, look at all that ice." And so we had to do something about it. But we survived.
BGNH,
that was an excellent landing.
Thank you for your contribution in the super chat. He said he said, "Good night, pilots all. Great show as always." You guys make it a great show. Thank you for thank you for being a part of the show in the chat. You guys really make it what it is. Because if it wasn't for you guys, we would just be sitting here talking to each other, and that's it. So thank you. Really appreciate that. You've got, I'm not sure who this guy is.
That's my friend Stuart. And
Okay.
we're flying together. Yeah.
I use that for the
He
thumbnail.
was
by the way.
actually my flight instructor when I started flying fixed wing.
Ah,
He
okay.
trained me, and then we just stayed friends, and we're friends to this day.
Are you instrument rated?
No, I'm not.
You gonna go for it?
I no. A lot of people said, "Oh, you really should get your instrument rated." But if the weather's lousy outside, I just don't want to fly in that stuff.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's true.
So I
Can't
think
see
my
anything.
answer is no. Yeah,
All right.
I'll fly only if it's nice.
You
That's
ever
my
been in
dream adventure, flying across. That's my next one. I want to fly across Switzerland. So I've walked across there. It took about 10 days, but I want to fly across. So those things, those blue things are all the pre-flight paraglider. Those are all LZ launches.
Oh,
those are all the launches in Switzerland. So you see, there's quite a lot.
Yeah.
And I figure if the weather's nice, I fly, and if the weather's lousy, I don't fly. I'll just read a book or something.
That sounds like a good adventure.
I did formation flying with like 5 Cessnas. We all piled up and did this formation flying around the Cascade Mountains in Seattle.
Well, that's a cool picture.
Pretty good adventure. You can do formation. You guys have done some pretty epic formation flying at Blossom, right? I mean,
yeah,
I've seen some pictures of Gaggles.
Is this the Salt Flats?
That's the Elvor Desert in Oregon. I flew out there with some friends of mine, and I thought, well, I wonder if this is mud, if it's hard enough to land on. And so I started coming down, but I forgot about density, altitude. And so by the time my wheels got about a foot away from the ground, we just went down, and next thing we were landed. But it worked out okay. And we just spent the night there, and then we flew back the next day.
Nice. Well, I really like it. Oh, you got to fly right here. I saw a video.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see my mouse or not, but
I can.
I saw a guy cascade down the side of this mountain. Pretty.
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah, I think I saw that one as well. I can't remember what wing it was. He had a collapse or something like that, and just went down into the side of that mountain, and then scraped his way down, and then ended up at the bottom there. Yeah. Lauterbrunnen, it's a really spectacular place. If you're gonna fly someplace in Europe, that's a good place to do it.
Right. Hey, by the way, the show is brought to you by the guys at flytory.com. Flytory is the website. Torrey Pines Glider Port. If you're trying to get some training, and maybe you're here in Southern California, even if you're in anywhere in the West, and if you're in the country, I mean, you can fly here in like 8 hours, even if you're in the far reaches. But we've got a great training program here at Torrey Pines. And if you want to get signed up, go to their website, reach out to those guys, tell them you were sent by the paraglidingtalk.com team. And you can get some really good training in one of the most beautiful places in the planet. Go check that website out if you want to see some pictures and get some details. Also, the show is brought to you by Resurgence PPG. If you want to go and check out their website, the website is resurgenceppg.com. Craig Taylor, do you have any details for us? Anything you want to share?
I do actually. Resurgence PPG is a 501c3 nonprofit for veterans by veterans. Their mission is to provide an opportunity for emotionally and physically adaptive veterans and warriors to overcome personal challenges through adaptive sports participation in flight. Please consider a small donation if possible. Even $1 will go a long way. If you cannot give a direct donation and you're ordering from Amazon, please use smile.amazon.com. Choose Resurgence PPG as your charity of choice. That also works now on the phone app, just a reminder. eBay for charity is also another option in case
you
do things on eBay.
Well, I didn't know that. I've been buying a lot of eBay stuff lately.
So look into eBay for charity and select Resurgence as well.
Okay.
Broadening the outreach.
Yeah, I like that.
Post a link for resurgencepppg.com/donate. in case you can afford that dollar. Also, if you do know a veteran that you feel is worthy of flight training for a life-changing adventure, please visit that website and nominate them. And also, don't forget to nominate on paraglidingtalk.com for the
Right.
Freedom of Flight Leadership Award.
Award. Yeah, you got it, man.
I would like to know when you
End of August, last week of August.
last week of August to
Yeah.
get your nominations in.
Yep. I think I'm gonna have to send out another spam email to everybody and get some more nominations out there. We've got about 20, and but I don't think I have any doubles yet. So I was just kind of waiting to see if we get a double, then it kind of narrows it down to
Wow.
it's all different candidates. Yeah, I'm really impressed, and I cannot wait for that show because we're gonna read what the candidates were nominated for, the things that they've contributed to the flying community, and I was like, by the time after we first dropped it, and if you don't know what we're talking about, we just created an award. It's just it's just for prestige, has nothing to do with anything else. And it's anybody who's contributed anything to the flying community in any way, good in a good way. And I'm just blown away. You get, I set it up so you only have 200 words, but they are incredible.
Well,
Really moving.
If you have a 20-way tie, then you got to give it to the one who's got the largest open property for anyone to fly from.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. Yeah, just incredible. Oh, by the way, I met a guy yesterday that's really cool. I'm gonna connect him with you guys, Anthony. He lives out at Blossom, and a really neat guy named Rob. You'll really enjoy him.
Cool.
Yeah, I got to talk to him for just a few minutes, but super cool guy, hardworking guy. Mark, thank you so much for coming on the show. Oh, Craig, did I cut you off? Was there anything else that you were gonna? Is there any notams or anything?
You're muted, Craig.
Yeah, you're muted, Craig.
It doesn't count for the swear jar.
Yeah.
Couldn't hear it.
I did say, dang it.
Yeah.
There are no national notams at this time.
Okay.
Funny thing about that, real fast, we had Vice President fly into our local airport, and I had a perfect flying day, and there was no notam posted for that. And I was very, very surprised. However, I did not request permission from the tower clearance to take off because I feared the state police helicopter that was doing figure eights over this little island may have had different ideas than the tower at the time. But yeah, that was very, very strange. Check your NOTAMs and TFRs.
Nice. Yeah, that's it. We should probably promote that more often. I know we have every once in a while we have military stuff that's going on that we should probably know about. Yeah. Well, thank you guys. We're going to go to the after show. If you are one of the Patreon supporters or you support the show through the super chat, or you do it on Patreon, PayPal, however, you can send us a link or to your give us your Gmail address or whatever your email address is in the chat, and it'll blur it out because it thinks you're trying to spam, and so nobody else will know about it. And we'll send you an invite to this after show, and the after show is where it's at. All kinds of great information. So we'll see you. Thank you again, moderators, Anthony Peregringo, Craig Taylor, Sean. Really appreciate Nick. I know you're in there somewhere. Thank you so much for what you guys do for the show. And I'm excited for the next one. We got some big shows coming up. We've got a guy that's been around for a minute and has done some big things in free flight and paramotoring, all kinds of good stuff. Gabe Jebb is going to come on the show. If you guys don't know him, he ran Torrey Pines for many of years, and he's got some great stories to tell. He was there doing toes at the SIV. So we got to talk and I said, dude, you have to come on the show or we will have just an incredible time. So that's coming soon. And then we're going to do a show talking about the SIV clinic that I just did and all the takeaways. So stay tuned. And if I don't see you in the air, I'll see you on the air. Have a good night.